August the 28th, which is next Thursday. And the time again is
4 p.m. to 8.
okay, so 4 to 8 at the Strand Theater. If they want to purchase tickets, how would they get tickets?
It's on
Yeah.
Eventbrite.
Okay, in Thunder.
Yeah.
What's okay? Are we live?
We're hearing both.
It will be the parties
Yeah.
from above.
Parties from Above Fashion Show?
Yes.
Okay. We live. We back. We had a little technical difficulties, but we back. And this is People Power with Priscilla. We are the people, and we have the power. And I'm so happy my friend and my chair, Larry Ellison, look what he brought me. He knew I was feeling down about this crazy election we just had, right? So he decided to come in and help a sister out. Good morning, Larry.
Well,
How
you know,
you
they
doing?
always say give people their flowers while they can
Thank
enjoy
you.
them, man.
Thank you. Yes.
So,
I know, because with everybody leaving here, I tell you, it's
Oh, my
crazy.
goodness,
Oh,
it
my goodness.
really
it's
is.
It's really sad.
But
I was
it's good to
sad
be
hear.
here.
Thank you. I was sad to hear about Seti Warren. He
Oh, I
was
know.
young.
Yeah, 55 years old.
Ooh, I tell you, that
Yeah.
was a blow. And Pastor Clovis Turner and just Leslie Harris. I'm telling you, people are leaving here. People are leaving here.
That is true. That is true. I came in this morning and I was supposed to call. I'm like, I'm in and so used to having a reserved spot out there.
Oh, I took your spot.
Well, it's your turn. I was gonna call a tow truck, but I figured that wouldn't be right.
How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing well. I don't know how well the city is doing.
It's going to be doing in the next 4 years, right?
Well, I was looking this morning at the jobs reports that come out. That they've lost 158,000 jobs this month, and that's based on numbers that they can't even prove completely, because I think it's going to be worse because the federal government is shut down and not getting the actual numbers. But what was interesting in there was 20,000 jobs that were replaced this month by AI alone, right? And this is why when people like T. Michael are talking about jobs that can't be outsourced in that way,
Right.
why it is important that these things should have been started up a long time ago, and people are going to be suffering.
They're already suffering.
But the election didn't. All the complaints that people had, and pretty much everyone
got back in, right?
So I don't know what more to say.
Everybody got back in. I don't understand it.
The only new seat was the one that was open, and it seems like that's the only time you can get changed is if somebody either goes to jail or the seat is open. So.
Yep. Unfortunately, I just I saw it was a text from somebody. I don't know who it was, but they said they walked by the voting, where they vote at, and there were no lines. And then they walked up the street, and there were 80 people in line waiting for food.
Someone had. I'm not usually on Facebook because I don't even have my account, but I still get the notifications sometimes. And one of them had to do with people talking about that, and I'm like, wait a minute, folks will stand in line for food. Right, and this was the day before the election. They said, but yet they won't stand in line to vote to help improve their situation, so they don't have to stand in these food lines. Like for me, and this is not arrogance, like it doesn't even faze me that the government isn't open, right? Because I'm not depending on them to take care of me and my family. That is my responsibility as a father, as a husband, is to make sure that my family is well, and I plan for that, so everything was planned out. And I'm not saying everyone operates in the same way, but when you are depending on the government entirely for your means, your support, the roof over your head, the food that goes in your mouth, but there's still not a wake-up call. We're still operating as if, okay, this is just temporary.
Yeah, well, the government been shut down for how many days now? 34, 35?
36 is the longest in history, and the other one that was just as long was under the same administration, under Donald Trump when he was in there. The other time when he wanted the money for the wall, he claimed that Mexico was going to pay for, which we still haven't gotten the check. Look, the only thing that has happened in that time frame is that Donald Trump and his family has enriched themselves. They've gotten richer. His friends who he's brought in as cabinet heads have gotten richer, and the country is poorer and unhealthier, right?
Yes. I couldn't believe that 42 million people in this country are on SNAP.
That's just the number. It's probably higher than that.
Probably.
Well,
yeah.
and I think people need to really, when you look into that, right? Because people think it's just people sitting home that don't want to work.
People are working.
A lot of those people are working. They're working multiple jobs. They work at jobs that don't pay enough. They're working full time, like at a Walmart, right?
Yep, yep.
Where you're making $15 an hour, if that. You still qualify because you're only making less than $30,000 a year.
Minimum
And see,
wage.
these big corporations, that's the dirty secret in this, is that they are using the government, taxpayers, to fund health care for their employees, and they're making billions of dollars in profit. So think about that. All of Walmart, and they have a line set up when people come in and they're new hirees to show them how to get on Medicaid and to get on SNAP because they don't pay them enough working full time for them.
It's sad. It's just like this world is upside down. You know, it's really we've had, you know, it's just went from bad to worse as far as I can see. You know, let's talk about the election. So, I was at class last night, and the person that was speaking, they were talking about how Michelle Wu was trying to was helping us with, you know, get the SNAP benefits and stuff, and they said that's probably why she won. I said no. The reason why she won because she didn't have no contestant. You know, she didn't have no challenger. That's why she won. Right. But yeah, it was.
Well, look, can I just for a second let's unpack why Michelle Wu ran the first time. She said she was going, and let's just grade her. This is not a personal attack. Michelle Wu said she didn't like what was happening down at Mass and Cass. Right? Has that improved?
No.
As a matter of fact, I think they're starting to pivot away from, you know, the way they've been approaching it to more of an enforcement. Right? She talked about improving the school system. Has that improved? No.
But she was able to give the school superintendent an $85,000 a year raise.
Okay.
While the school attendance of students are going down. So how you figure?
Right.
You know?
Right. So let's talk about, you know, the other thing was the cost of housing here in the city of Boston. If you're trying to buy a home today, is that improved? I was talking to a newly hired officer, and he said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep this job because you have to live in the city of Boston for the first 10 years." And he said he just bought a home, and his mortgage, Renee, is $6,200 a month.
What?
$6,200 a month because
He bought the house in Boston?
Because the average price for a home in Boston is $1 million. So even if you put down 20%, you still have an $800,000 mortgage, which is going to bring you around $6,000 a month.
Wow.
He said, I have to work every day.
Yeah.
And even then.
And night and do details.
You're not seeing any daylight because paying, even, you know, working every day a detail, that's taxing. But then to have to pay $6,200 a month.
That's a lot.
That's not including utilities. And he bought a condo. Right?
Oh my goodness.
So he still has a condo fee and all the utilities that comes with that. So
Lord.
This is why I say, you know, folks, you know, reelected, you know, and then honestly, other than maybe people like Mejia and Ed Flynn and Ellen Murphy, that's not enough to be a check on the mayor.
Yeah, because Santana and was it Weber? Not Weber, the other one, Pepin, Sharon Durkin.
Right.
You know, they're all
rubber stamps.
Yeah. So, it's sad. It's really sad. But you know what, Boston. I'm ashamed of y'all. I really am. I'm ashamed to say I live in Boston.
Well, I'm glad I don't, because I would be living.
It's you know, I don't know what can be done. I mean, we try. We try to come up with these different ways to get folks involved, and people just they're not interested.
No, we're seeing it now. The mayor just petitioning the state. She wants to override 2.5 so that they can increase your property taxes even higher, even after having increased the cost of taxes, property taxes, last year. So I'm looking at tax bills on properties I own here, still in the city of Boston, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, we all know if you own property and you're not living in and you have tenants, you have no choice but to pass that cost on to people who are already struggling. So they are so out of touch with the pain of reality. They can always vote themselves a pay raise. You think about it. In the past, probably less than 10 years, the salary of the city councilors went from around $75,000. I think it's from $130,000 a year what a city councilor is making today. That's just, I mean, for what? For a job that no real accountability for the most part. I'm not saying all, because there are some of them who do the job.
Yes.
But the vast
Shout out
majority
to
of them.
Julia.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, Santana is an example. I mean, he was supposed to be on our broadcast before the election. He called. We set it up. He didn't even have the decency to call and cancel. He just, I forgot.
How you forget? How you forget you got to...
Is that how you serve your constituents?
Yeah.
You just don't show up? But people say I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to be a tough 4 years. But I bet you one thing. I bet you she have a challenger in 4 years. That's for sure.
Well,
I hope we don't want another 20 years like we had with Menino. Come on, stop playing.
Well, I tell people when she ran from day one, she was running for Senate, not mayor. But mayor was a path to get her to become senator. So she's really not interested in being the mayor. This is what you have to do to get there, to get what you want. But like I said, folks are going to feel the pain. And, raising property taxes is not the solution because you can only raise it so much. It gets passed on and things are not getting any cheaper, and even with this right now, with them handing out food for people, that's not going to last so long. I mean, there's only so much of that can go around.
Yeah. We got to start growing our own food. I'm telling you, folks, we got to do things different.
Well, we got to start growing the brain.
We said growing the brain. But no, when you think about it, really, this food that we're eating it's literally poison. They're killing us.
Well,
they're really killing us with this food. It's all processed. And did you know there was 262 types of sugar?
I didn't know it was that many. I know there's
262 different. They all different names. So it's like everything that has sugar that you wouldn't even think has.
Well, you
sugar.
look at a package, right? And
The ingredients?
it's more ingredients than what's in the package, right? So that ought to tell you. But you're right. I mean, look at all the stuff that they're handing out now because they have to buy it in bulk, shelf life, like canned. And I don't even buy canned things. I don't buy canned food, soup. I make my own because I know. You look at the can; it's nothing but salt. That's
sodium.
Right.
Yeah.
We have high blood pressure
High
in our community.
High blood pressure, diabetes,
Right.
all this stuff that's just really killing us.
Yeah.
And then the medication they give us, all the side effects. So know. But
even like when I was working for the police department and they had bought the ice cream truck, I'm just like, wait a minute, most of our folks in our community are lactose intolerant, and we're riding around the neighborhood with an ice cream truck. Okay, that makes sense.
No, it's just something to pacify us. That's basically all it is,
Well, I can tell you, my phone and there's certain calls I take, my phone has not stopped ringing with people calling me. As I said on the broadcast, I broadcast many times, looking for turkeys. People haven't heard from since the same time last year, right? I'm like, who's you all doing any turkeys this year? I'm like, did you vote? Vote. I mean, what are you doing to improve your situation, right? And someone sent a list out of places that are going to be donate turkeys on a first come first serve basis coming up because we're coming into the holiday season. And I said, you watch, you'll see the same people in each line. It just, I don't get it. Because I grew up in the neighborhood and I know you can pull yourself. I'm not saying that everyone is going to do what I did and I don't expect them to, but we can do better than we're doing, right? And we should not be so dependent on a system that was never designed for us. It doesn't even really see us as human beings.
That's right.
Like I was listening to the governor's race in Virginia, in which there was a black woman, I think it was Sears. She was running, and when she lost, she was calling out President Obama, saying, where are you? You're supposed to be supporting black women. It's like, right? And ironically, the black people didn't support her because she was MAGA, and the MAGA people didn't support her because she was black.
Yeah. But unfortunately, times are gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. I mean, the fact that he told the East Wing, to put a ballroom in there. And people, I guess they like that. They happy with that. They're going to have a ballroom that they probably never be able to get into or see. But, I mean, what is he thinking? And what kind of medication is he on? Because he got to be on something to do the crazy things that he do.
Well, I think it just shows his priorities, right? When, it's like when they had the Gatsby ball for Halloween, right? And all these rich people and people are out there standing in line for food. And it just shows such a disconnect that you're, having these elaborate parties, and then you're sending out pictures of the tile, the expensive tile that you're putting in the Lincoln bathroom in the White House, and everything with him is look at me, look at me, look at me, right? And that's why these folks who thought that he was going back there to help them, he's just helping himself and his family.
That's all he doing.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
But if we, what we gonna do? We stuck with him now, just like we stuck with Michelle Wu for 4 more years.
You are, at least, like I said, at least that one I'm not stuck with until I come into Boston. But like I said, I'm just honestly, I'm mentally and physically drained. I was just telling my wife, I'm not sure how much I get involved in this any longer. I'll try to help people where I can, but I just realized that you cannot do it for folks if they're not interested in change, if they're not willing to have some skin in the game. This is what you're going to end up with. It's not just Washington, D.C. that has failed us.
Yeah. We failed ourselves. Plus our local elected officials. And next year is the governor's race. I mean, these years go by so fast.
There's an election every year. But do you know the sad part? You wouldn't even know that there was an election this year. You wouldn't even know that there was an election. And a lot of these questions weren't asked. I think, the mayor's race was honestly very flat, from the Kraft campaign, I think they could have done a lot better job on messaging, because there were plenty of issues that would have resonated with people, but it just didn't come across.
He was not a good candidate. That's all I can say. He was not. He did not excite the people. He only excited the people that was working for him. But, the audience, me, myself, and I think Domingo de Rosa did a better job in the debates than him or her, really. Unfortunately, Domingo's didn't have the money or enough folks to really get to when Kraft dropped out, even to be able to get to that. Because he would have gave her, I think he would have gave her a run for her money, Well, he would have addressed the issues.
I was going to say, at least you would have had a conversation about things where you're seeing now, they feel like they have a mandate to do whatever they want. Like you said, the mayor would not have gone to the state before the election had she not had a clear path in there, right? I mean, people... she's showing who she really is. I mean, people are hurting right now, and you're going in there asking the state legislators. Yes. I mean, the last people are still absorbing. Right? They're still reeling from the last one, and you want to increase it more than the 2.5. That's why they have a cap on it, so that the elected officials don't go crazy. Because then what they do for themselves is they vote themselves a pay raise, right, to offset the cost. Right. So they're not hurt by it.
Nope. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It's sad. It really is. I don't know what's gonna happen, folks. But this is People Power with Priscilla. We are the people. We have the power. But
do we really have the power?
I know, right? But that's my motto. I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody realizes that we do have the power and we can do something about it.
Well, I was a little encouraged because a lot of people, and this is probably the first time in history that a president has acted in this way, in which people lost things were taken from them, right? The SNAP, right? Because normally, no matter what the shutdown is, this continues to flow. And sadly, that's motivating some people to come out. But once that is, re-implemented, will people continue to go out and vote? Well, I got what I want back, so now it's like, when they break in with something and then they say, we now return to our regularly scheduled programming. That's where we sadly will be, is that once this is back in place, folks who they have short-term memories. Well, I don't need to vote now. You know, the SNAP is back in place. You know, I mean,
and they're trying to take those rights away.
right, but
You know?
they're trying to make it means tested, but it should take the S off because it is just mean tested, not means tested. You know, and who can live off of $6 a day? $2 a meal is what it comes down to. $2 a meal. You can't even get anything on the value menu at most of these fast food restaurants for $2.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't.
You know, so
It's really sad. I like I said, I'm ashamed of Boston. I just don't understand. Yeah. But I do understand. You know, I do understand because. With just that's what's going on. That's how it is.
yeah, not surprising.
We got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning, Counselor Yancey. Long time no hear from.
Well, I think we're gonna have to dust.
Yes,
we're gonna have to dust him. We're gonna have to dust you off. We're gonna have to dust you off and get you back out there, Counselor. Because
I'm telling you,
this is.
Well, listen, I'm calling to say that I am very proud of both of you. You've been hanging in there. You've been very consistent and very committed to the community. And you haven't been recognized enough for your work. But I just want to tell you that I appreciate
Well, Counsel, let me say
both of you do. Yes.
that is reciprocal because, I think we sometimes, right, we don't realize what we've lost until we've lost it. And I tell you, you were a crown jewel. I mean, you and Counselor Turner, I mean, were some folks who we didn't always agree, but I knew I was always dealing with honest brokers, right? Someone who's going to tell me what I needed to hear, not just what I wanted to hear. And we've lost sight of that. And in fact, I think that's why folks like yourself, they wanted you out of there. Because now, we can lie to people with impunity and there are no consequences. I mean, I can't understand, Counselor. Again, I've talked to many people who were saying they were unhappy with the status quo. It was not working for them. And yet they voted status quo. So I don't know what more people like you or I can say.
That's right.
Well, first of all, it was my honor and privilege to represent the people of Boston for those 32 plus years. So, when people decided they wanted a change, I wasn't, obviously going to. I wasn't going to change. I mean, they knew where I was coming from, and they knew I wasn't up for sale, and they knew that I was committed to improving the Boston public school system rather than give everything away to these charter schools and the financial backers, etc. But they found people who went along to get along, and that's their choice. But I am really impressed with the fact that both of you have persevered for all these years, and you keep fighting for the people, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there appreciate it. They don't call in as often as they should to say thank you, but that's all I'm doing this morning. To say thank you to both of you.
No, I appreciate that, Counsel. That's one thing, like I said, what you get from us is an honest, and I tell you, I guess what frustrates me the most, Counsel, honestly, personally, is that I'm not fighting for this for anything for myself. Offers have been made to me, and I'm like, that's not why I'm here. I think they confuse it. Everyone is looking for some payoff, and I'm, even when I dealt with Mayor Menino, it was like, no, what are you looking for? Nothing. I just want our folks to do better, and the opportunities. We have qualified people, but we just don't have access, and it's worse now because I told people I think we missed a huge opportunity during COVID and then during the George Floyd when people were looking at our situations and acknowledging for the first time in a long time that the system is rigged and it's not fair. And we still continued with the handouts, right? They're giving out food and we're standing in lines. And here we are again, right? Our situation, right? We're standing in line, right? I told them it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But I don't know.
Well, I'm a little bit more optimistic
because
I remember the many years fighting just to make sure that the members of the police department respected the community that they were asked to police.
Yeah.
And, I think that has, the attitude in the police department has changed. I fought for years to get the body cameras in place and to ensure that we had a system of accountability. And even though they're not perfect, and I'm not sure how well they're working, at least there's an acknowledgement.
No, there
that,
is, but I
the
think
city, that the city employees work for the residents of Boston, and that was not the case when I was elected back in 1983.
no, but I think even back then, though, you guys had more say in, particularly when it came to the leadership of color in the police department. Our elected officials had more say because they were representative and also overseeing, making sure that our rights were, protected. I don't think we really have that now. I think it's just the opposite. If you want to be elevated in leadership, if you're a person of color these days, you must toe the status quo in city government and in pretty much in all agencies in the city now. Is that there's a pledge of loyalty, just like with Donald Trump, and those of us who won't do that are ostracized and pushed out.
Well, I just believe that there has been some progress. We've missed many opportunities. I endorsed a very dynamic leader named Priscilla for the Boston City Council. And even though we were successful, I would do it again. And I also believe the city would have been dramatically different if we had Larry Ellison as a police commissioner. I made that publicly known as well. That was my preference. But I believe that there is an opportunity as we look to the future to make Boston a place where we can feel comfortable in raising our grandchildren. Some of us have grandchildren now, as you know.
Yeah,
I only have 8, but I believe that.
But Council, let me
we could do better. We could definitely do better.
Let me ask you a question. How do we do that? Because and I ask you this question with all seriousness, is that you were a check and balance in the council, right? And it seems to be a lot of disarray in that, this vote was basically an acknowledgement that there is no oversight any longer. Not that there was much to begin with. You were the one who understood the rules. In fact, you were the only one who had it right when it came to the matter with Chuck Turner being removed, and the court said, "Hey, you know what? You cannot do that." He was elected by his constituents, and there's a process to do that, and we're not there yet. And there's very little knowledge in the council these days like that. There's no real institutional knowledge, and I think that the administration uses that to their advantage. So if the folks there who are supposed to be representing us, and we keep sending people there who have no clue other than, well, if this is what the mayor likes, I guess it's safe to vote for her, what she wants, then how is that a representation of the people?
Well, I would agree with you only up to an extent. I've made it known as best I could to each of the councilors, even those that succeeded me, that if they need anything, if they want to get some advice, give me a call. And on occasion, some people have taken advantage of it.
I'm glad to hear that.
Back in 1984, I established the Post-Audit and Oversight Committee, and that's basically the job of the city council. So Councilor Julia Mejia has called upon me a few times, and I've offered her some support as she endeavors to keep the administration accountable. I made the office to others as well. Some have taken advantage of this, some have not. I think I would have done the redistricting a lot different than what the city ended up with. Because, think about it. Boston is more than 50% people of color, and still doesn't have 50% of the district, of the 9 districts. And that is a situation that's reflected nationally as well. You've been reading a lot about what's going on in Texas and now California, where there have been a lot of skirmishes around redrawing the lines. It's actually a power play. Well, the same thing happens here in Boston. It's just that it's not given the attention that it really does deserve. People need stronger representation.
Yes.
And to get this stronger representation, people have to be willing to get out and vote, to campaign, even run for office, even if they don't win. And I congratulate everyone who ran this year, even though not everyone could win. at least they went out there. They put
Yeah.
themselves out, and that's a major sacrifice in and of itself. And I can attest to that from experience. I've run many races. I've won some. I've lost probably more than I've won. But getting out there does require sacrifice, not only on the part of the candidate, but his or her family. And some folks, some extraordinary people, like both of you, still sacrifice, still raise these issues. You still, almost make a target of yourself by questioning what's going on. And that's your job. That's my job. That's every citizen's job. You should challenge what's going on in our city, our state, and our country. Because if you don't, you leave the decisions to people like Donald Trump, who doesn't have your interests at heart, and perfectly happy with your silence.
Right, but I think, Counselor, the
challenge.
big reason why people like Priscilla and I are that way is because we understand civics, we understand history, and that's not being taught in our schools, and sadly, it's not being taught in our homes, right? So when people don't know the real United States of America, they just can't think this, maybe just because a person doesn't like me for some reason, not understanding that the racism is still very deep rooted in this country. Everything is not equal, but you're trying to figure out why it is, and they don't have a clue. And I grew up under that. I grew up with leaders like yourself and Gloria Fox, and even Billy Celeste was not a perfect man, but I always, when I was a young officer, saw him advocating in Mamleo for officers that look like me. So that's what made me continue that fight, because they said pay it forward. But I try to have that conversation with some of the young officers today, and it's all about making money and trying to explain to them about the history. They don't want to hear about it until they get in trouble. And then they come back and say, tell me about what you all did to help people back then, because I need help.
It was a definite challenge. And I recall Detective Larry Ellison showing up at a city council hearing when I was challenging the fact that that African Americans were not well represented or well treated within the police department. And we had a series of meetings to try to correct the disparities that exist in the hiring process and the promotional process. And yes, even with regards to discipline, uneven discipline within the police department. And if you don't stand up and fight for it, it's just going to continue. Now, if you challenge it, you're not always going to win.
Right.
But you have a better chance of winning if you challenge it than if you just remain silent. And I've always been appreciative of the fact that Mamleo was there, the Balkan Society was there, Beam was there to at least raise these issues and provide me with information that I did not have from the outside. I have oversight responsibility with regards to the budget, and I used that the best I could with limited support from my colleagues, quite frankly. Sometimes I was in those chambers all by my lonesome.
You sure were.
I still held them accountable.
You sure were. That's why, like I said, sometimes you don't realize and appreciate, and that's why I want to say publicly thank you and the late City Councilor Turner. I remember many meetings with you gentlemen up at Mamleo about these issues and the support that you gave us on these issues, but also holding us accountable. It wasn't just one-sided. You were saying, look, there's some things also that you guys need to work on, and we tried. And so that, again, other than with maybe Councilors Mahir and a few others, that doesn't really take place today. And sadly, that division is why I think we're in the shape we're in right now. But also I want to extend to you, because we finally had, after all of these years of fighting, we've gotten approval to put our new home there at Mamleo, and when we do the groundbreaking, I would love to have you standing next to me with that shovel, because I think you were just as instrumental in making that happen for us, being a partner all these years, and also your advocacy for our kids. And that's where I think we're falling short with the education counselor. It really scares me with the reforms as far as kids getting into the exam schools, but just in education alone here in the city of Boston.
That's right. And the other thing that many people don't realize is that we did have a partnership, and that when we hosted our annual book fair, which we did for 30 years, you were there, and it really made a difference. Your presence was more important than you know, because you gave our young people something to aspire to. I mean, it's great to look up and see African American police officers, men and women, who really care about the community. And that's not the look you get from the media.
No.
And, you know, they like to sow this division, you know, it's us against the cops type of thing. Well, no. We just expect to be treated with respect. And the police, we delegate awesome powers to, literally the power of life and death.
Absolutely.
When we pay for those arms you have to put on. And I understood that. And in fact, one of the few things that Dapper O'Neill and I agreed on back in 1987, when I was chair of the Public Safety Committee, is that police officers need to be protected. And I sponsored the ordinance that required the city to pay for the bulletproof vests for our police officers, because we felt it was important that our officers had necessary protection. Even though the Patrolman Association fought me on that, they did not want to make it mandatory as I did. And it's unfortunate because once you put that uniform on, you do make a target of yourself.
Well, not only that, Counselor, to that point, there have been several times that I can think of that vest, that advocacy that you did had saved officers' lives. It made the difference. Because if they didn't have that vest on, they would not be with us today. There were numerous occasions.
I'm certainly aware of that, and I just was astounded that it got so much resistance initially. Everybody takes for granted. You ask an officer out in the street today about paying for their vest, what are you talking about? The city pays for it. And at that time, it was close to $1,000.
No, I bought my own when I came on. You're absolutely right. It was not cheap.
Yeah. and it made no sense. We should be protecting and respecting our police officers just as we expect the police officers to protect and respect us.
I agree.
And that's, you can do both at the same time.
I can walk and chew gum, right?
That's right.
That's great.
I'm so glad to hear your voice, Councilor Yancey. I haven't heard your voice in a while. But,
well, I don't want to wear out my welcome, but, I watch you folks every week. I was pleasantly surprised to see both of you on at the same time. I thought I'd have to wait till Saturday to hear Larry Ellison and Thursday for Priscilla Flint, but now that you're both there at the time, I can say thank you.
Appreciate you, Council. Thank you. And you and your family be blessed and enjoy the holidays.
Yes.
You too.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Keep up the great work.
Thank
you very much. Take care.
What a great man.
He was the best.
Just
he really was.
Like I said, I appreciate him more now. Not that I didn't before, but because sometimes you just don't understand when someone is really telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Exactly.
It's very often people will avoid that because they feel like, it's just going to be confrontational.
Yeah.
But I learned so much from Council Yancey.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, Council Yancey is the one that helped us get our prayer ministry going at City Hall. 5 years. We had that prayer ministry, 1 to 2, every Tuesday. And we tried to bring it back, and they weren't feeling it. But we're going to get it back down there. They need it. They need it now more than ever.
Well, this is what I said. A lot of the things that worked for us, and the biggest thing that worked for us back in the day, it's all, we're going back to it, and maybe that will help galvanize us, is that, people were very open about not liking you because of what you look like. And we're back to that where we had to depend on ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not trying to fit in where people don't want us,
Right.
And I've never been one to buy into that I need acceptance or a pat on the head, from anyone, regardless of their race,
Right.
And so we've got a ton of work to do. I'm just not sure if we have the time.
I know it.
It's a heavy lift.
Time running out.
It's
I'm
a heavy
telling
lift.
We ain't getting no younger.
Well, not just
and
that.
time is going by fast too. I mean, look, we're in November. Next month's December. Another year, another year gone. And we'll be going into 2026.
Right.
And it just seems like people aren't listening. They're not learning. They don't want to. They want a handout instead of a
Yeah.
handout.
What's that saying? Teach me to fish.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And I can
fish forever.
Mhm.
Feed me a fish, I'll eat for a day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what, folks? There's no fish in those lines.
It's really sad though.
Mhm.
It's been like that for a while because I know a lot of these places like 12th Baptist Church, um, Child Street AME. I would ride by there a lot of times, and there would be people in food lines, and it's just like it almost seems like back to COVID, almost,
I think also there's a sense of not say control, but power over these folks, right? In that they become loyal to them in a sense,
Mhm.
right? Because you give them a little something and just enough to keep them controlled, right? So you can have them come in and, a politician can come to that one individual and have them bring their congregation in. And if they give it their blessing, then people follow along. So that's a really inexpensive way of having a block of voters just by giving them crumbs, literally crumbs off the table. Because this country is rich in food, right? We throw away and waste tons and tons of food every single day.
That's true. And there's people out here starving. They talking about people starving in Africa. There are people starving in Boston.
Right.
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 So it's just, I don't know. It's
And this
we're
is just the
upside
beginning,
down.
because it's not just the food insecurities we're going to be dealing with. It's the
homelessness.
health care
Yeah,
that's starting this month.
yeah.
A lot of people are going to be, even people that are working, are going to be losing their health care, or it's going to be so expensive they're not going to be able to afford it, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. Elections have consequences.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
have consequences, and we're feeling them now. And you just can't magically erase what is happening here,
You
folks.
can't.
This orange man is there for the next 40. It seems like it's
Yeah.
been 40 years,
Yeah.
but it's only been 11 months.
Yeah.
And people already, and that's what they want to do: weigh you down, weigh
Yeah.
you down, weigh you down. And this is where, even here in the city of Boston, people aren't faring any better.
Nope, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
But like I said, I just don't see the energy for folks, wanting real change. I mean, we're closing down schools.
Yes.
We're closing hospitals, right?
Closing pharmacies. From what I understand, there's only in Boston. I hear that they have Walgreens in these other towns and cities.
Yeah, the one in my town
that
is
are
still open. In fact,
Yeah.
they're opening them in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah, and so clearly this is a way to get to another way of gentrifying us out of here.
But again, I have to be honest. If I'm a business person, right, and I have a shrinkage because people are allowed to come in and take whatever they want, would you want to have a business, where there's no law and order?
No, but I bet you one thing. I bet you I'd hire some people that know how to keep them folks from stealing. I mean, these you can walk in these stores, and the supposedly security, they on their phone, they ain't paying attention to trying to stop nobody from stealing.
It's not much you're gonna get for minimum wage.
I
You don't want to pay them; they're not gonna
Go
risk
ahead,
their
Renee.
lives.
But they also, some of them are told not to do anything.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
like you pay me for security, but I can't secure.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That's true. I remember one time I walked into a Walgreens, and they were on the phone trying to get the police to come to the store, because the people were stealing in there, and they were, and the police weren't coming. It's just like, well, what are you doing there? It's just.
Well, look, it's not just security. Think about it, right? You go down to Mass and Castle, you go down to Nubian Square, I'm gonna get it right so Siddiqui doesn't. And you see the police car sitting there with the lights on,
Yeah.
and you see the things that are going on, but the officers have been told to not engage, to
Yeah.
let it happen, because you don't want to get into a confrontation with folks, because the courts have said they have a problem, they have a drug problem, so we have to let them.
And so you let them just openly get high and all this stuff. I'm part of the the Nubian Square Task Force. And there's a lot of different agencies that are part of this task force. We meet every other Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 in the Bruce Boland building. But every Tuesday we do a walk through Nubian Square. And some of the services, like we have Bridge Over Troubled Water, we have DIMIC. There's several different agencies that are out there that can give real-time services to these people. But it's sad, but you got to keep doing it because they're starting to see, we take them, we give them food, sometimes we give them toiletries, sometimes we have socks and different things out there. But it's just so sad because they're just out there openly doing what they want to do. And there's no accountability. The police I don't really see them doing a whole lot. We can only do so much.
Right.
And but all this stuff that they're building in the city of Boston, all these buildings, and you mean to tell me you can't build a facility where people can go and get treatment, or either have like people that are homeless. Some people are homeless. They're literally homeless. They ain't out there messing with drugs, but they're homeless. They don't have nowhere to go. Why can't the city build something for them, hire some people so that you can't take somebody from off the street and give them an apartment, but you could have a place where you have these SROs. And I heard this gentleman yesterday talk about how they have so many of these SROs around the city, and they're building them because people need a place to stay. Because when they finish building all them buildings down in Nubian Square, okay, they're gonna be locking people up left and right to get them out of there.
Well, there's it's ironic. When I came through the police academy, there was it's actually in a lot of law enforcement books. There's a theory called broken windows, right?
I've heard that theory.
Right, it's like when you go in the neighborhood and you see broken windows and you see this type of plight, that if you don't address it, then people coming through, even normal average people, like, oh, there's a broken window, and you go by as a kid, you're like, well, you stop throwing rocks, right? And so when you go in certain neighborhoods, like if you go out to West Roxbury, you don't see this type of behavior taking place.
None whatsoever.
You even see better street lights out there, right? You see it's nice and clean. There's an investment in, because the community is not going to allow that.
Right,
and until the community says, hey, you know what? And we're starting to, sadly, the gentrification is going to modify that and correct that, because the cost that people are spending for the homes, they're not going to want to continue to spend that and look out their window and see things worse than their cable would provide. They're not going to be wanting to spend, $1 million for a home on average, and then have to spend $30,000 to send their kid to private school. So we're going to see improvements, but we're not going to be the ones who've been suffering through it all are not going to be the beneficiaries of the improvements that take place.
Unfortunately. It's all about money, That's all it's about, But the fact that what they're building down there in Nubian Square, I mean, they might as well have kept the name Dudley, you ask me.
Well, that's why, Siddiqui and I, we have different opinions about things. And you talk about that, he's hung up on the name change, and like he wants the library to be called the
I think
Nubian.
they did that, didn't they?
No,
they changed it.
they
they
didn't
had
change
some
it.
event.
No.
Yeah.
It said Nubian.
Yeah, I think they did.
That's Siddiqui had it of the year anniversary. He's calling it, being defiant, calling it Nubian Library.
Oh,
I
thought there was a
they want to
official
rename it the Sarah
Yeah.
Ann Shaw Library,
Right,
and they don't think that it should be that. And I'm like, not everything down there has to be called Nubian, because the name. If you're changing the name, but the environment is the same,
Yeah.
then what are we really getting out of it?
Nothing. Well, people, I don't know what we're gonna do. Well, right now we got 3 minutes, so we can't do much. But for all those who went out and voted, I thank you, and for all those who didn't, shame on you, because you could have blanked people like I did. You go to the polls, you don't have to vote for anybody, but you need to be counted, because that's how we get our services, or not get our services, because you won't take the time to go in there and put your name on the ballot, or put somebody else's name on the ballot. You don't have to vote for them people if you don't want to vote for them.
No.
You can do bullet voting. You know what bullet voting is? please.
But we can't do one of. Like, last time I saw, like, really excite me here, remember when President Obama ran for president the first time? That was the first time that when I worked the polls, when I got there, people were actually lines of people waiting. And the other time was when they wanted to legalize marijuana. It was the only 2 times in my career, in 30 plus years, that I saw folks waiting outside, standing out line before the polls even opened at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was those 2 things.
Wow. That shows you where we're at, right? But I still believe a change is going to come, Larry. I just have to have that faith and trust that a change is going to come. It may not be good, but
change
it's
has
coming.
come. It's come. And
Yeah.
not
It happens. Change happens every day.
Change has come,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
for the betterment of ours.
That's right. But we're out of town. Out of time.
Out of town, right?
I wish I was out of town.
I know. Hopefully, I'll be able to get out of town the next couple
I
of
know
weeks.
it's so much stuff is going on. But I just want to thank everybody who listened. And this is People Power with